welcome to Weird Reads. Now, I got a new tagline here. I'm going to try it out. Your book club from the Twilight Zone. I don't know if that's going to stick or not, but we'll see. I am your host, Jason White, and on this episode, I welcome back author Robbie Dorman. But before we start, I do want to thank a couple new Patreon members. There's 3 new paid members, and there's a couple of free members. I want to thank everyone for joining. Now, one of them doesn't want to be named, so I'm totally fine with that, but I want to thank them anyway. Thank you so much for joining. And the other 2 are Samantha and Crystal. Thank you so much for joining. Everything helps. It helps pay the bills. Podcasting bills can get a little ridiculous sometimes. So, Robbie Dorman. Robbie Dorman was on the show before, but this was a couple years ago. I wasn't uploading to the podcast at that time. So just so you know, Robbie, this will be both available as a video on YouTube and a podcast episode. Robbie Dorman is the writer of a lot of great novels, including Conquest, Horror on Halloween, This Book is Cursed, which turned out to be true, and most recently, Words of Christ in Red. Welcome back to the show, Robbie. How have you been?
Busy. And thank you for having me back. The video, your video of me talking about me at some point is one of the first things that pops up when you Google my name. So,
nice. I made a video. Why you should read Robbie Dorman.
Yeah.
And I did that because I absolutely love your work. And like nobody on booktube is talking about Robbie Dorman, but they need to.
I appreciate that.
And also, I just want to let you know, because I was talking to you before we hit record that I'm having issues with guests, technical issues. And somebody had to cancel because of these technical issues. So in that place, I uploaded our first interview together as like a special. And I put that video as audio form too into that. So that releases tomorrow. It'll be Part 1, Robbie Dorman, Part 1. And it'll have those 2 videos, why you should read Robbie Dorman, and our interview or our discussion together. And then exactly 1 week later, it will be this episode.
Okay, awesome. But I mean, I'm just very thankful because it is, I have had multiple people be like, yeah, I saw that video. I'm like, nice. Oh, awesome. That's excellent. Yeah, exactly.
All right. I hope it helped drive people to your work.
You know, it's hard to, I at least try to, you want like these discrete feedback of like, oh, this worked. This got me more readers. But a lot of times it's very hard unless you get literally people telling you, I saw that, or I clicked on this thing and then I found you through it. Otherwise, it's just like you get sales. Sometimes you're like, I don't know how that happened. You just have to, you take lots of shots and you try and you make your best work and spread it as far as you can and hope for the best.
Yeah.
All the time.
I know what you mean. My books, like I released a book last year, and I wouldn't have been able to tell if like somebody talking about it spiked my sales or not, because they were pretty high for a while. But if somebody were to do it now, because my sales have been flatlined since I say July or August, so now I'd be able to gauge it. But when it first came out, there was like no way to tell.
No, you just make a big push, and you're like, I will just lump everything into that big push. I talk to everybody I know and yell as much as I possibly can about the newest book. Please go buy it. Please pre-order. Please, it's really good. I promise.
Yeah. I was glad that I found you. I found you on a TikTok video where you were describing your book Conquest. I explained this last time, but I'll go over it quickly again. You were talking about your book Conquest, and my mind's going blank, but werewolf bikers.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Jesus Christ, I got to check this out. And I'm so glad I did. And then when I was about halfway through it, as I often do, if I'm really enjoying myself, I contacted you and I was like, I got to have you on the show.
I appreciate it. I mean, I'm I'm busy, as Gambit would say. I'm trying to make a name for myself, like in my own small way. Going through a publishing crisis, identity crisis, I guess. But just writing a lot too.
Yeah, I noticed that because, I follow you on social media, and you had a video. You did a short video. I forget where it was. I think it was Instagram, where you went through your disappointments, and then you had another video right after it saying, "Yeah, you know what? Screw that other video. I'm just gonna try to be happy with what I have."
Well, I mean, it's like I think we all go through it, and I don't necessarily. I think a lot of times that is a part of. I've been, and a lot of authors come and talk to me about it. People who are in my similar place as me, where, and you are, I would probably count you among them, where it's for indie horror, we're doing very well. People know who we are. People read us, but there's this feeling of like a ceiling above you. Like you're not breaking into where you want to be. I think all of us, and like it's not just, it's into any level, right, of career success, however you want to measure that. There's always this like, I want to do more. I want to, like, authors in general, like I think I probably have said this somewhere, but I rankle against the idea that authors are like these ephemeral artist types, because most authors I know are the hardest working people. We wear a bunch of hats. We're constantly working really, really hard. And it feels like blue collar work to me, like I get just as tired from a day of this as I did when I worked in a construction warehouse. And we are all pushing against this, like, at some point it feels like a real ceiling. It feels like there is like actual forces keeping us from breaking into another level. And you don't see people talk about that on social media. You see people post their successes. You never see, you don't see a lot of struggle. You don't see a lot of, and people who are, there's people who are like, well, I think you're great. I think you are successful. And I'm like, you're right. I am successful, because if you showed me now from when I just started publishing, I would be like, wow, Robbie, we did it. We really did something. You have so many books, and you are like considered, there are people who, consider me a peer, who I would be, Stoker Award winners, like really impressive, like things like that. And I should be happy about that. I should be content about that. But there is a thing in me that's like always wanting more, and like, don't be content, always strive for the next level. And it's, that I think it's, when I started self-publishing, it was largely because I was very frustrated with the traditional publishing process of having to find an agent, and then the many steps after, like, that's just the first step, and it's incredibly difficult. So I got frustrated with that. I'm like, why? I can do this myself. I believe in myself. I believe in my writing. And that frustration of like, this isn't getting me as much as I want, as fast as I want, despite how much effort and how much work I put into this. And I was just like talking about it honestly on Instagram, but it's also working out in my head. And I took a break. I published so many books this year. I've only published Words of Christ and Red. And that's not going to change. I'm not going to publish anything the rest of this year, but that kind of quiet, which for most people, one book a year is great. Most people are like, oh, I put a book out this year, that's good. But for me, it's like I have a whole bunch of manuscripts ready, and I could publish any of them if I really wanted to. I wanted to let it sit and not have that work distract me, because I am a workaholic, and I tend to like, I'm having some sort of question about what I should do next. Just make more work, do more stuff, and don't worry about it. Just keep going. And I really wanted to like, let's take a break. Let's slow down a little bit. I'm still doing plenty of shows and conventions and things like that, and I'm still like involved in a writing group and the HWA and all those things, and my new podcast, which is it's a bunch of work.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, but don't publish something. Figure it out in your head what you want to do, and I have, and it's more like it's a lot of that sitting and thinking, and I'm not quitting. Like I think some people thought that was a potentiality, like I'm going to stop. No, it's more like it was always going to be, what's the path I'm going to take. I work great when I have a plan, when I have a purpose. I know I push in this direction, and I kind of have that again. And I will, if people want to talk to me and hear me rant about publishing, I could easily do that for hours. But it's at a certain point, it's like I don't want to stand on a soapbox the entire day.
I totally understand what you mean, because, well, unlike like you've got, how many books you got published? It's like over 16, right?
17 books now.
Yeah, 17. Like I have 2, and I'm quite sure I'm older than, like, probably by quite a bit than you are.
I'm young. I'm older than I look. I'm 40 years old.
Okay, well, I'm older. I'm 51. So
okay, you don't look 51. You look good for 51.
Oh, well, thank you. Everyone says that, and I appreciate it. But the fact it remains, like, I heard Alma Katsu. I don't know if it was on your podcast or somewhere else.
She definitely did talk about it on my podcast about worrying about breaking through, or to getting. I'm like, you're Omakatsu.
Yeah, but she was,
you want to stoke her, man.
She was talking about not, like, missing opportunities. She feels like she's missing some opportunities because of her age. Yeah. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm 50. I'm not that far behind her, right? So the point I'm getting to here is, I think I'm going to be happy. I think I've let go of the big dream. You know what I mean? If it happens, then great. I'm not going to turn it down, but I'm just going to self-publish, I think, and maybe hybrid a little bit with small presses if I can. Because my mental health is more important than grinding my ambitions into the ground. To be honest with you, I'm quite happy where I am. I love doing this show. I love talking to authors, as I mentioned to you before. But I also love writing. I just enjoy, losing myself in a world that I'm creating. And if I can just keep doing that, then I think I'll die happy.
That's a very healthy perspective. That is the mindset that,
and it's not always there.
No. Exactly. I think we all, every writer, even artists, any artist, kind of, I would think that at some point you have these moments where, because very, 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 very few people become that tippity top. Like, there's only one Stephen King, and there never will be another one.
Exactly.
Like, and that is impossible. You can, I don't necessarily want to be. I say I want to be Stephen King because I think that's what we all like. We want to be that nationally acclaimed bestseller at, like, some point in our lives. We're like, I want to be that. I want to be Stephen King, especially when I was younger.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I don't really, that's not necessarily, I don't really want to be the next Stephen King, if I might say that sometimes. I want to be the first Robbie Dorman, but I do want to reach more readers. I want to get more, I don't know.
Honestly, I could see something happening for you because you write these really fun stories that have, they often have a message, as we've discussed in the past, but that's not even the important part. The important part is that they're fun and they're very readable. They're easy to digest, and it's written well. The characters are almost always great. I mean, you write all the things that I enjoy reading, and you bundle it up in a fun package, and that's why I love your work so much. And if that's not marketable, then I don't know what is.
I think some of my strife is the fact that I agree. Like, I try to do, like, that's part of what I'm like, my goals is making that thing that you described, because I also like that thing. I'm writing for me first. And certainly I try, and I think lately I've been a little bit more experimental and pushing my boundaries a little bit more in different directions, while trying to keep it, like, readable and fast paced. Like, I'm trying to, like, stretch, like in partially because I do find it fun. I find it like you say, like the writing process. I don't want to just write the same book every time, which sometimes I feel like I'm doing, because you end up, and you write enough books, you kind of hit those same story shapes and same character types. You're like, no, I need to push myself in this out a little bit to just for my own edification at some point, just for my own enjoyment. Like, I want to write something a little bit different this time. I want to press it in this direction or that one. It's more that, like, I don't know, I send things to agents I've been querying now for, I think over a year straight with different projects, multiple different manuscripts. And, I know it's not my writing. I think there's a lot of great writers in the world, and most of them aren't traditionally published. That's not a measurement of writing quality. It's nothing. And the people, and sure, I think there's probably a large subset of readers who are still under that understanding. They go, oh, it's traditionally published, means it's good, writing, even if I don't like the book. And then indie or self-publishing, oh, there's no gatekeeper, so it's not good writing. It's more that frustration of, like, I've worked so hard and I think I am I am what you would think would go on a bookshelf in Barnes and Noble, and it's just not there. And it's that frustration. But I think ultimately, I have to let that go, because I can't. It will drive me crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's maybe good mentally to let it go, but I would say keep going, because you hear stories all the time of these really big writers who submitted their work for years and years and got nowhere, and then they got that one big break. And, it could happen. It could definitely happen. Just keep your eyes and ears open and keep pushing forward. Just, if you're, just like try to adapt the same sort of, mindset at the same time. Do you have like you must have like a pretty good following.
I mean, it's hard to measure sometimes. I feel like I do, but it is like, and like, there's always these variables, and I think I certainly have I have a pretty good number of social media followers on Instagram. I have a pretty good number of people who subscribe. I deleted my TikTok. I've been telling people that. Yeah, I'm done with TikTok. I wasn't on there really anymore anyway. It was not good for my mental health.
Yeah.
The feed, it was too much for me, and it was starting to drive me crazy. And now that all the weird political stuff going on with it, I'm like, I don't need that. Yeah. And so I'm mostly just on Instagram, and I guess Threads technically, because I cross post, and now on YouTube for the podcast, and obviously podcasting everywhere. But I have a bunch of newsletter followers, subscribers to my newsletter, and I know in person I have lots of local fans who I get recognized in public occasionally, nice. Like in Orlando, just because people buy books from me. But I think this is probably a thing that most authors face who don't have like an incredibly massive following, where it's like still trying to get all those people to get your newest book and get them to let them know it exists and to pay attention to you. It's like, again, it's that we're a victim of like the attention economy, where everyone is split in a million different directions, and getting those, the super fans, as they say, the people who do pay attention to everything you do and buy every new book as it comes out, are very difficult to acquire and to keep their attention, just like anything. Yeah. And so it's like, I have it again, it just doesn't, because it's not like, oh, I go to a show and there's not 1,000 people out there standing cheering my name immediately. I go, oh, then I can't, it's hard to wrap my brain around these people that I can't see all at once in a big crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, you've run into some bad luck. I'm going to assume here that when you released this book as Curse, you went through a lot of issues.
To get that book. I'm fine now. I'm fine now. I'm okay now about it. I'm not I'm not sad or depressed or angry, which I was all of those things when it came out. Yeah. This Book is Cursed it's a book within a book, because it's a book about a cursed choose your own adventure book.
Yeah.
Choose Your Own Adventure is a copyrighted, trademarked term owned by the Choose Your Own Adventure book people, and they are incredibly litigious. And because I use that, I don't use the term in the actual novel at all, but because I used it in the marketing blurb, they found it and they issued cease and desists. And they're a big giant company, and I'm just a me.
Yeah.
I did manage to get back up in most places in some way, shape, or form. So, I have to be happy with that because I don't have the money to pay for a lawyer to try and actually fight it.
Yeah. But that's got to have embittered you a bit towards like publishing, because this really like a David versus Goliath type situation where the big giant is squishing the little guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, they also fought with Netflix. Like, they sued Netflix because a Black Mirror episode did the same thing that I did, because they also probably didn't even think about it. Because I think, and most people I tell this to, they go, "That's a trademark term. People own." I'm like, it is purposeful because they don't want to be. There is like legal precedent that if your term is used enough, if that term is used enough, it becomes a genericized title that anyone can use, and they don't want that to happen. They want to still be able to profit. They want to be able to profit from it and not let anyone else do it. So they are incredibly litigious because I think they realize that it could easily become that genericized thing where, like, at a certain point, it takes a lawsuit, and I'm probably lots of money to pay for it for years because they probably would fight tooth and nail over it. I did what I needed to do to get the book back on the marketplace, and I try and be very careful with every book from now on about, hey, is there anything in this that could potentially, and it's like, they don't really care about what's in the book. Most of these places, like, they're not going to read the book. They don't know I exist until one of their lawyers Google searches Choose Your Own Adventure and they find it in a book that's not a Choose Your Own Adventure book, which is what happened. I'm pretty sure they just have probably multiple people who just feed terms into some bot, and the bot will return, "Oh, this is a new entry, and it's not from, it's not they'll
not from us,
not from us. All right, send the cease and desist." I don't know. It's that. That's not necessarily. I don't really hold that against publishing. I hold that against corporations, capitalism.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is I write plenty about how capitalism is bad. So
you certainly do.
Yeah.
Did you know that the Heimlich maneuver cannot be called that anymore for similar reason?
I did not, but doesn't now. I'm not surprised by it anymore because of my experience. Like, I'm like, oh, of course,
yeah,
of course, of course. We have some company has claimed something for God. People can't do things. You can't play music on YouTube. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
okay,
it's frustrating,
whatever.
right?
Yeah,
but yeah, I have to take first aid for my day job, and I learned it there. They call it like upthrust now or something like that.
Oh, what? Come on, guys!
Like, you can say Heimlich maneuver because everyone knows what that is, but you can't print literature with that in it because the family Heimlich, the guy who created that sort of maneuver, right, to save somebody from choking, he's long gone. But the remaining family, they trademarked the term. They want to make money off it, so nobody's using it. Everyone's like, "Fuck you, we're gonna just call it something else."
I don't know. I mean, like, there's this desperate grasp from everyone to like claim things just to make wring as much money out of them as possible. And like, there's, I don't know. This is a thing where, like, obviously there's some cases where I'm like, yo, people should get paid for their work, but when it's a guy who invented a medical it's just it's terminology for something to keep people from choking to death. Do we need to that? Do you need to do that? Do you need to cooperate? Like, just the best time to create confusion in the marketplace and to is when someone's choking to death, and we need split-second decisions.
Yeah.
And you might go, "Oh, that guy needs the Heimlich maneuver," but you might not. And let's say it's someone who knows this and doesn't say Heimlich because
You
they
can't
and then
say
you're
that.
like, and then you create 30 seconds of confusion, and this person may die.
Yeah.
I don't like. Maybe take the L on this one, guys, and not be so greedy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, can't you just say, yeah, we, Grandpa came up with that.
Yeah,
and you saved
right.
a lot of lives. Instead,
Yeah.
it's like we need to wring this out, get more money, milk it, baby, take it to the pastures.
Oh boy. Again, more rant and raving.
Yeah, I know how you. Well, I don't know how you feel. Like that would have been frustrating. That might have been the end of it for me.
I mean, it was a lot. I mean, luckily, I think if it was my first book, I might have gotten a little bit more perturbed about it. But because I've had so many, it's very easy. It's easier for me to now at this point kind of go, oh, well, that book's out. And I did what I could with it for the pre-order drive, and I will continue to, once in a while advertise it however I can, whenever I have an idea for it. But it's out in the world, and I hope that people can find it. It's a lot of matter of like trying to advertise yourself is how much bandwidth you have to find new readers, and like I'm able to go, well, it's one book. Book. I'm going to publish more. I'm going to publish more books, and like it's okay if I can. I was upset at the time. I was very, very upset. But it took months of me sending emails back and forth to different places and changing art on it and changing the blurbs and all this stuff. And eventually, it got reapproved to back where it was. But it was pressure. But it's also, I try again embody like. It was a learning experience. Now it's another thing I know, another thing I went through that will harden me, harden my skin and toughen me up and go, I can keep going. It's not, I'm very stubborn.
You can also use the fact that the title, "This Book is Cursed," is literal.
I tell people that.
Cursed, yeah.
I tell people when I sell it to them, I'm like,
this book is literally
cursed in more ways than one. It's I won't spoil the story, but yeah.
Recently, this year, you said you only released one book, right? And
yes,
that was
Words of
Christ in Red. Now, can you tell us what this book is about? Because it's a fascinating book.
It is a religious horror novel. The elevator pitch for the plot is a hot-tempered gay pastor tries to heal a rotting church and struggles with his faith and sanity in the face of an unhinged zealot. So a gay pastor and his small family moves to a rural town in Georgia to replace the old pastor who mysteriously died, and tries to kind of heal a community. Basically, the community is kind of split and was split even before he arrived, and he's a good man trying to do the right thing. He's a believer. It's not a book necessarily about losing your faith. Mm-hmm. It's more about confronting your faith, I would say. And like, I'm an atheist, but I was raised in a church just like this that's in this book. And it's not really about, like, the book is not about if God exists. It's more about culture, like the kind of this meeting of, I was explaining this today, so it's good that it's fresh on my mind. It's this kind of I love writing about identity, and I think it occurs in all of my books. They tend to be about wars over people's identity, and like why people why people escalate to violence is because their identity is challenged. Mm-hmm. And in this book, you have the pastor as the main character, and he is this representation of evangelical Christianity, where he is a firm believer in Christ and God and the New Testament, and embodies that the more kinder, softer Christianity, where that Jesus did kind of teach in his in the New Testament, and be welcoming and let all people into the church and become a safe place and try and form a community around it. Uh-huh. Versus something that is equally as considered evangelical Christianity, which is a person who doesn't worship God, doesn't worship Christ, doesn't worship the Bible. Instead, they worship suffering.
Yeah.
That is actually what demonstrably, when you see what they do, what their behavior shows, is they worship pain. They worship suffering. They worship blood. And they don't worship what Christ taught, even though they may use the word Jesus all the time.
A good example of that, I think, would be to watch Mel Gibson's movie, what's it called? The Jesus Christ movie.
Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, that's like a torture porn movie.
It is, and then like that is a perfect example, because there's a section in the book where the pastor talks to the antagonist, and they're mirrors of each other, and they could easily have become each other if their lives had gone different directions. And there's a moment in the book where he's like, you try and isolate Christ to just those moments where he dies. That's everything about him is just when he is tortured and dies on the crucifix. And that's a small part of his life. And you shouldn't take, that's not the lesson to learn from reading the Bible. It's not the lesson to learn from listening to his preachings in the Bible, even though that is what you kind of have narrowed his life to. And that the fact that the most successful Christian movie ever made is just torture.
Yeah.
It is watching a man get tortured and die. And that's all it is. And you're like, why? If that doesn't tell you exactly those, and that's exactly what the antagonist of the book kind of embodies, is like this, where he's like, and he, hates gay people, even though he has tattoos. And that's another thing I put in the book, where like there's many things in the Bible that say don't get tattooed, as there are, don't be gay. There's very little. There's not a lot. And yet he has tattoos, and there's plenty of people who have tattoos, but will also say the Bible says don't be gay. And you're like, well, you have tattoos, you eat shellfish. Like, again, it's like this unwillingness to try and be good, but instead be hateful, be angry, enjoy the suffering and torment and torture of others.
Yeah.
And that's it's a lot of my religious trauma and from my childhood dumped into the book, plus like a lot of, I have a very close another ex-evangelical friend, as they say, and that she helped me kind of get my brain around what this book would become. I'm very proud of it. I think it's my best work yet. It's certainly not a fun book. That's the other thing. This book is very, like, a lot of my books, even when they're like, harrowing and can be hard and painful at times, are more fun because they're faster paced and there's a lot of action. This book is not a fun book. I had to take breaks writing it. It's very heavy and hard.
Yeah, when I say that your books are fun, this one sort of detracts from that a little, but it's still a little, like, I found it fun. When I first started, like, I knew it was obviously, the cover, the title, it's going to be Christian horror, but I kind of went in with reservations because I don't like reading Christian horror. But once I got into it, it was just like, yeah, this is a Robbie Dorman story. No matter how hard we're going here, it's still Robbie Dorman.
I mean, it's always going to be, that's the thing. It's always like, you can't escape your own voice, your own style. It's always going to be kind of the overarching principles, no matter how, like, I really honed in on my language on it, truly tried to cut it to the bone, really tried to be as narrow on my language as possible. Like, I'm never going to write exactly like Cormac McCarthy, but I did like have that in mind, where like, how much can I cut? How little can I include in this? I don't know. My books I try not to make them preachy. I don't want, like, in general terms, like, I do write about progressive things. I don't want them to feel preachy. I want them to feel about battles, about truth. Like, I want them to feel authentic. And sometimes that means dancing and religion and ugly topics that, I don't know. There's some people who eat this up and want only this. They only want ugly, heavy books. And other people just, like, again, it's kind of the variety of horror readers, where some people all they want is kind of like fun, campy slashers and like, you know, sillier, funnier, campier, leaning more into action, more into that element of horror, which is just as legitimate. I'm not arguing against it, but then you're like, oh, I have this really heavy, hard book about religion and about real things and real life. And they're like, oh, oh, okay.
Oh.
I mean, especially the way the world, like, you know, with all the political tension right now, like there's a lot of people who they want only escapism. They don't want heavy, real life topics.
That's an interesting topic too, because you go through this story and you don't mention any of the politics. All you do is mention this one isolated incident.
I don't want to. I don't know. It's, to me, the book could easily spin out into being about a lot of things.
Oh, it could easily, yeah.
Yeah.
The second you bring Trump into it, you've lost control. I feel like you might have lost control because it's going to go in that area, right?
Yeah, it's not, and I don't want it to be, and like it's not about him, and it's not like he's
even if you brought up like Christian nationalism, that would maybe derail it a little.
No, and like I don't want it to be. I want it to be about these characters.
Yeah,
I think that ultimately, and in some way, yeah, there is. And I think you can look at this. There's a lot of books that do this, and I think some readers never pick up on this stuff. But I think as writers, we tend to see it more clearly because our brains are wired that way. We're constantly working on it. But it's like you can sometimes see writers have these characters, but the characters aren't. They are metaphor. That character is not a real person. They are just a metaphor for some big thing. They represent something very big, and then there's another character, probably the antagonist, who's another big thing. And the story is that those two, not the characters bashing against each other, but those two ideas that they represent bashing against each other. And like that's good. It's good to have that in your story, but I try and layer in where it's not. There is that's underneath where the character still overrides just two big ideas bashing into each other. You can't, I don't know, there's an element of, I'm not trying to write a nonfiction piece about politics in this year or whatever, this era, this time. I'm trying to write a piece about these characters and navigating religion and navigating faith. And I had to keep it pretty narrow to do that. I don't want to write arguments about I don't want it to turn into Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner where like half the family, you know, is voted for this guy and the other half voted for this guy and we're just yelling at each other. I'm like, that's not very meaningful, and it doesn't really get to the down into human nature very much. If I'm going to write about that, that's what the book is going to be about. Right. And I don't think it certainly may be about cultish thinking, but it's not really about God anymore or about religion.
Yeah. But you do also bring sort of rationalization in there with the main character, Pastor David. Even though there's periods where he wants to succumb to evil, or I wouldn't say evil. I don't know why I said evil. I meant to say violence. He wants to succumb to violence, but he's able to hold himself back. Where Eli, the antagonist of the story, he's ready to go at any point. I mean, the story opens up with a scene. I don't want to spoil any of this book because I went in pretty well blind, and I think readers will be kind of surprised by the beginning because it's pretty harrowing. But I think even with like the title, Christ or Words of Christ in Red, those Bibles exist. But if you just read those words, the words that are in red, you would find a very peaceful and loving and forgiving religion.
Right.
But you have a lot of people twisting it into something else. You have Eli's out there who spew hate instead of love. And I think the book was at least what I got from it, I felt like the message of the message that I got was love in the end should defeat all.
I mean, I think it's funny that you say evil, because I think that's the question in his mind. And I think in David's mind about succumbing to my anger and letting it take control of me. Is it, and like in some case, like is it righteous? To have, is it, and like even, it's certainly earned. Eli deserves his anger. Eli deserves his violence by the end of the book. And then you would argue probably at the beginning of the book, Eli probably deserves retribution, deserves justice, you could argue. And that's, I think, the question of like how much of this is just simple revenge, or vengeance, or justice, or righteousness. And, David's anger is my anger. I have a lot of anger towards, all these types of people who really just want excuses to hate people. They want to feel that feeling. They want to have that anger. They want to be fed by that hate and that anger. It makes them feel good. Being angry makes you feel good. It fires off brain chemicals that make you feel good. And I have done work on myself to try and stem that, to try and be a better person. A lot of that is realizing that you cannot indulge in deserved anger in some cases. Like, yes, it's there if I really need it. And it's not to say that you never do. Sometimes there are situations where you need to tap into that. But largely, it is healthier for a normal person, someone who's not in a horror novel, to take that anger and think about it and then let it go away. And you'll have a happier life, ultimately. And I don't like, I don't, the question of the book is never is David in the right. I think it's ultimately David's telling people, hey, come to church and we can join together. We can have food together. It can be a welcoming place for literally everybody. And we can be happier and peaceful together. The question of the book really is it right for David to indulge that anger? Is it the right thing for him to do to be vicious to Eli at times, to do things, that to escalate things with Eli, perhaps even, depending on how you want to look at it? Because it certainly feels good. It feels good as David feels good doing it, and you feel good as a reader. You're like, yeah, fuck you, Eli.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, is that good for
right?
him? Yeah. Is that right? If it is the Christian God that David believes in, certainly would probably say, no, it's not right to indulge your anger like that. The Christ would certainly say, like, Christ, the Pharisees aside, Christ very rarely indulged in anger. And like, looking at his death, where he said, forgive them, Father, they've tortured and killed me, but forgive them. And it's like this utter selflessness. And I try not to, this book in particular, tried very hard to kind of point at a third thing, which in my podcast, I had spoke to John Langan and the master, and we talked about a third. He talked because he wrote a piece about the finding the third ending, finding, like, in one of his short stories in his new collection. It's half a story, but also half him talking about him making decisions about the story. And he's like, well, here's the one way you could end it. A very kind of typical horror ending where the main character dies because of a mistake he makes. And then you could have, here's the other ending where the main character doesn't die, but instead becomes sort of like becomes a villain. And he's like, no, actually, I think ending I would chase is the third ending, which is neither of those things. It's more complicated and not concrete. It doesn't tell you the answer. And honestly, I don't have an answer to what is David right to do what he does, is, to not give away what happens throughout the book, but I leave it the way it is because I'm chasing that third thing. I'm chasing, like, you decide, let the reader decides. And I think sometimes some people love it. and I think some people are like, no, I want an end. I want you to tell me.
Yeah.
Some readers just want answers. They don't want questions.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with it, the ending. And I think because it leaves you with this feeling of, I don't know, to think about it. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about anger and violence and, like, the fact that there's not justice in our world, in a lot of cases. You can't, and if you believe in an afterlife, you believe in a heaven and a hell or whatever it is, even you have to kind of let go of finding justice on this earth. And even though it feels very good, like, to see someone who's done something very wrong pay for it.
Yeah. I think letting go, that keeps coming up in this episode. I think, letting go is a very big Buddhist term, of letting it be, letting go and letting it be. I think that right there is the key to mental health. Maybe.
Yes. I mean, over the pandemic, I got really into mindfulness and to Buddhist principles.
Me too, honestly.
Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know. I never say his name right.
I think that's it. Thich Nhat. Oh fuck yeah. I know he passed away. Yeah,
recently passed away. But lived a very long life and wrote a lot of books about kind of Buddhist principles and being mindful and present. And I tried it got me through the pandemic. Like having, like, centering yourself and being present and being mindful and kind of using breathing to, like, I've noticed that I write that in a lot of books since I started reading those books, is like letting characters, and like the channeling anger, it's a lot of like heat in your chest and heat, like feeling your body. And it's helped my writing, honestly, because it helped me, like, describe certain emotions bodily, how your body reacts to feeling that way. And, like, it's like, at first you get real hot, you can feel your chest rise, you can feel the heat, it can take over, blood rushes to you, to your skin, like, you can feel it. And being, having that mindfulness is very important. And I give those books as, like, gifts to people all the time. I'm like, I think they can be helpful to literally everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they talk about enlightenment and all that, and I think you're fine if you just have little moments here and there of enlightenment. You don't need to become an enlightened being right away.
No. It's like literally walking your dog. You could just be like, you take a breath, you push the thoughts out of your head, you take a step, like, things like that. Very simple, and it brings you, and even, like, again, 10 minutes a day can bring you a lot of peace that I think
absolutely
people would find very helpful.
I'll tell you this, it changed me. Completely. I used to get very uptight about, my writing time and podcasting time, but now it's so much easier for me to say, okay, this didn't work. It's okay. Yeah. The next one will, you know what I mean? Yeah. And if not, then you just keep going. And it was hard to get there, but, like, it works in other facets of my life too, right?
Yes.
I'm much more calm and relaxed, and honestly, like, I can talk to people I wouldn't particularly want to hang out with. Like, when you're at work and you're talking to the guy who's a complete racist, I can let that go. And where before I would argue and I would get into it with them, but now it's just like, what's it going to do? Me fighting back against this person right now and in the place of work is only going to escalate and bring about situations that nobody wants. So
Yeah.
if I'm able to walk away and just be like whatever, then that's probably the better choice.
Yes, it's the like there's a I don't know. It's not quite a mantra, but it is the think globally, act locally, and what can you control?
Yeah.
What can you touch that will actually affect things? How can you affect change? And arguing endlessly with some person who you'll never change their mind, all you're going to do is make yourself upset, not make them. You're not going to change them.
It's
They're
true.
going to be the same person. And your energy is finite and important. So, and then like I extend this to my career, but I try and put it everywhere where it's like, where can I put my energy where it can have the most impact? And that is in relationships, but that's also in my writing. That's in my, my miscellaneous social media. I try to have that in my ethos where it's like, well, what's, bandwidth? People use that term all the time, but it's a lot of like, well, where can I affect change? Right?
Yeah.
Can I do this small thing and it could be very meaningful? Then I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it's important, when the time does come, then like do it, right? But there's a lot of periods throughout life where it's just not important, because all you're going to do is create stress for everyone, and
and it's like think that people, it's also healthier for your mental health because
exactly
you want to. There's a lot of people who, in my friend group even, who feel guilt about like I'm not doing enough. Things are bad things are happening out in the world, and I'm not doing enough to stop them. And I'm like, you can't stop them. It's okay to acknowledge you're mostly powerless. Like I think to it. This is another thing I think about. Like if you and we have so much access to news, to the presence of bad things, evil, you might want to, you can even extend it to. We have so much more knowledge of that. If you had given the same kind of information to like a medieval peasant who saw nothing, the only sphere they saw was their little town and nothing outside of it. Maybe they occasionally, like, they would hear that if the king died, they would know eventually. But it would be weeks or months before they knew anything about it. Like, the only thing they would know is like, oh, yeah, our horse isn't doing great. We need to do something about our horse. What can we do? They wouldn't know about strife in 3 countries away from them. They would know maybe if their taxes went up because someone would come and collect them, but they're not going to know about wars in other countries. They're not going to know about a person who's sad 3 towns over or 3 states over because of social media. I know I suddenly see on social media, oh, this person's having a hard time. I would never have known about that if you exposed that information to someone, 800 years ago. They would have lost their mind. It's too much. We're not meant for this.
Yeah, we're not. You're right.
It's okay to say, I can't do anything about that. And you can, if you can, extend that effort. Like if you can make some meaningful effort towards it, do it. But a lot of the time you can't do much. Like know what you can do, try and achieve change that way. Don't feel bad because you didn't save the world every moment.
Yeah. It's also good for your own mental health in ways like when just say somebody says something really stupid. Again, we'll use the work situation because that's a place where you probably should just keep it to yourself because that's where you get paid, right? But
yes, we all live in the state of capitalism.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I might have been wise enough to say 10 years ago to keep my mouth shut, but I would think about it for like a day and it would torture me. The thoughts of all the things I could have come back with and said to that bastard, you know what I mean? I could have really showed him, and it would just ruminate over and over and over in my head. But now I can let that go even. And that right there is remarkable change.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, to the book, it's very much about what if. Again, it's a lot of times you write what if, and it's like, what if a good man lost his temper?
Yeah.
What if a good man couldn't control it? You know,
you put Pastor David in a pretty extreme situation, and I had in my notes, I'm not too sure if I was Pastor David, if I would have stayed there or even went, because like we're talking like Bible Belt America, right?
yeah,
Small town Bible Belt America.
Yeah, and I think it is the I tried to extend out to he grew up in a similar place, and he wants to be, and he was lucky. In where he grew up, he had a support system which doesn't always exist, and I think he was like, well, I want to create this for other people, and it's like, and a lot of the times these people are, you know, I knew when I went to church before I went to the uber evangelical, more Eli type church as a young man. I went to a church where it was very small, and the pastor was Pastor David type, who was a very good guy, good man, like genuinely wanted to improve the lives, and it was a very poor community, and he genuinely wanted to help people. And I think back to him where I'm like, and he did missionary work in very poor places, like trying to help people, bring food and, you know, help, you know, serve people who would have, you know, might die if he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And certainly was not easy. It was very harrowing work he did, from what I remember. And I'm like, sometimes you would accept that, you know, understanding that it's going to be difficult. You know, there's some deception in there too. And there's questions when he'll leave. There's a couple moments where people are like, the part of the revisions process was people were like, he would have just left. There's no way he would stay. I'm like, well, then I have to I put more pressure to stay. Mm-hmm. How can I twist, right? How can I twist him so that it would kill him more to leave than kill him to stay? I mean, that's another question I bring up comes in my own mind, where you're like, I moved back to Florida, and Florida is a very conservative state now. Uh-huh. Very different than when I grew up. And people leave, you know, people I know, people in my friend circle, they leave because they don't want to be present in it. Yeah. Which is a little bit of a privileged position. There's lots of people who can't leave. Yeah. And I think like there's the multiple characters in the book, without spoiling it, face that like question of retreat, the question of no, this is mine. Again, it comes back to identity. Like they have taken it on themselves that this is mine. This town is mine. I am it. Like I can't leave it. That's retreat. And to leave the town, to retreat, would make them face the fact that they are not who they think they are. Yeah, they are a different person.
And that's going back to identity and the battle of identity, which is really interesting part of this book. Another interesting part, because it's like for a second there, you had me thinking that maybe you were a Christian.
I was, and I wrote this in a different book. I have a cat meowing on my door, so I'm sorry if I'm distracted.
No, that's fine.
No, he'll go away. I wrote it in, funny enough, probably my most fun book was Killer Hockey Mask, and I wrote this line in Killer Hockey Mask, but it always echoes back to me when people ask me about this, and I'm like, I'm an atheist, but I still believe in things bigger than myself. Mm-hmm. I believe in forces stronger and bigger than me. And there's a character in Killer Hockey Mascot who says literally that. She's like, the main character in Killer Hockey Mascot he believes in God, and my characters usually, or like most of the time, believe in God, because I think most people believe in God. And to some level, you know, some are very religious. Some people are just more agnostic, where they're like, yeah, there's probably a God up there somewhere. Who knows? I'm not going to worry about it. I got to pay my bills. I mean, there's lots of people who are like that. Yeah, like, oh yeah, God exists, but also like, I need to pay my bills. That's I need to make sure my kids get fed tomorrow. Like, I'm not worried. I can't worry about God. Yeah. Which those people who are blessed to not have existential questions in their mind every single day, those are the luckiest people. But
ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah, but there is. I believe in things that, like the weather. Like that's the example that happens in Killer Rocky Mascot. She's like, I believe in hurricanes, and a hurricane's going to come, and I have no say over where it goes. Mm-hmm. And like in Florida, that is ever present, especially now.
Yeah.
It's hurricane season right now.
Yeah.
It may come and wipe us out, or it may just swerve away. And nothing I do changes that whatsoever. I cannot affect the whims of a hurricane. And it is so big and uncontrollable. I just watch it happen. And I often think about that as when I write any character that believes in God or is even more devout, is more devout than me. They all would be, but it's more about I have existential questions about forces greater than me, and they're not too different than does God exist or not. And I honestly I don't want that to show up in the book. I don't want a book that just lectures you and says, "Oh, you shouldn't believe in God," or lectures you and say you should. I think again, I want you to examine your own beliefs and examine how they occur in the book.
You did that.
And think about it. I don't want to make you don't have to make a decision because of me, but it's more I want it to be a question, and I'd want it to be about, well, what do I worship? What do I believe? What am I a part of? Like what systems, like again, it's like identity and systems, and it's like there's that, I don't know, David faces this crisis where he's like, do I worship the same God as Eli? Like to a lot of people, the answer would be yes. You're a member of the same church. Isn't that the same? Don't you worship the same God? Well, and I would say I have my opinion. I would say no, they don't. But what I believe is going to be different than any reader. And I try not to, like, again, people ask me sometimes about not just this book, any of my books. They're like, what is this? What happened? What does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. I mean, I have my thoughts about it, but I didn't write it down in the book. If there's no answer in the book, then I don't have an answer for you. It's not on the page. Yeah. It's up to you. And some people love that, and some people don't.
Yeah. Well, you brought up an interesting point there about making the reader sort of confront themselves in what they believe, because I was doing that halfway through this book. I was like, could I go to church again? Do I want to go to church again? Do I believe in any of that? Because I'm an agnostic. I need scientific proof that for me to absolutely believe in something. Even if it's something I experience, I would prefer to have that backing, to be honest. But
I agree.
Yeah, but it still made me question it. The answer came up, no, I'm like, I refound myself in a sense. It's like, no, I don't need church. I don't have any of those beliefs or anything. But for a while there, it was just like I was going through the self-questioning period. Your book made me think in those terms as well.
I mean, it's a question of a religion can serve many needs. Not to say that some of those needs can't be met in other ways, but in some places, and certainly the place like Sacred, which is the setting for the book, the church would be the only place you can fulfill a lot of those needs of a third place, of a place that is free to attend, that can provide you community, a place you can be, where you can eat, right? You don't have to for free. You go to the church service and you go to the potluck and you can eat for free, where you can learn, right? Theoretically, if you listen to a sermon, perhaps you can learn or try to be a better person. It's like a self-help class effectively. And I think ultimately a lot of the best pastors, ones who, like Pastor David, do believe and do want people to just be their best selves. It is not necessarily imbuing their sermons with ill intent. They're like, hey, be a good person. Don't lie to people. Be your best self. Help people when someone needs help, you help them. It's the church can fulfill those needs, and like I get a lot of those needs met from my writing group. I go there once a week. I hang out with like-minded people. I get support for both like my life and for things I'm working on. But a place like Sacred, like I grew up in a very, very small town, a rural place in Florida with nothing, and the church did fulfill all those needs. And so it's like, and again, like just because I don't believe in God does not doesn't change that. It doesn't take that away. Like again, like I have known like those dyed in the wool hardcore atheists, and you're like and they're the biggest assholes in the world. I'm like, you can't, just because you don't believe in God or don't like, there's no proof of him or it, whatever it is, you can't deny the role that religion and a church can fulfill. And I'm like, and ultimately, like, it's not gonna be bad. Like, you can have churches that are universal goods. Even I like, it's like it's probably going to be complicated and probably going to be a mixed bag, like most things in all the world are. Nothing is universally good and nothing is universally bad. There's always like this mixed bag for the most part. And I think that's what like a church in a place like this would be. And like, again, it's me trying to find the truth. It's not, I don't want to, and if what I'm writing isn't true, then I failed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you succeeded.
Thank you.
I love this book.
I do appreciate that. I mean, I'm very proud of it. I love it. It's people ask me today, what's your favorite book? You know, they want to buy a book. And I go, oh, it's my newest. Mostly because I think I achieved like what I wanted out of it. Like, I feel like I got my writing at a place where I'm really happy with it. But it's also not the most fun book to recommend. Even though some people are like, oh yeah, religious trauma, yeah, hurt me. I'm like, great, you're perfect. I love
excellent. You. Yeah, go for it. Go wild. Before we go, I want to hit you up with we were talking about Thich Nhat Hanh earlier,
right?
And there was something that he said that really struck me as fascinating idea. He said it to Oprah of all people, because you know how he came over here and he'd like talk about stuff, and she went on a period where she had like Buddhists on her show a lot. Anyways, Thich Nhat Hanh was one of them, and he said, I don't remember exactly how it came up, but she said, who is Jesus Christ? Like, who do you think Jesus Christ is? And Thich Nhat Hanh said, Jesus Christ is the Buddha of the Western world. And I was like, oh geez, man, like, that made me, because like you, I have a similar past to you. I went to church a lot as a child. I read the Bible all the time when I was a kid, and so I'm pretty familiar, especially with the New Testament, and you know, all those like teachings of Jesus Christ came back to me, and I was just like, you know, he could be onto something there.
Yeah, I mean, it at a certain point, they become bigger than anything. Like, it's not like this is exclusive to Christ. It happens to pop culture figures. It happens to, you know, famous actors. It happens to, like, there's a video today by Jason Pargin, another author, and he's almost as well known for his TikTok / social media presence than his books anymore. But he's like, who's the most like, is there like a big famous character that has outgrown, like has continued on past the movies they are from, and they were like, is there anyone, has that happened since Jack Sparrow? And I'm like, I don't know, that's a good question. But like, Christ is like, when he says he's Buddha, like, it has the idea of Christ, the idea of like, just like the idea of Buddha, even in the Western world, the idea of Buddha is too, like, if you ask a random person, like, what was Christ? Who is Christ? Who was Christ? Every single person's answer is going to be very different. It's going to be like, again, it's going to be, depending who you ask, it could be one of a million different answers. And some of them are going to have answers that have no basis in reality, have no basis in the Bible or from any kind of sermon or church service. It's going to be outgrown from the source material, which is one book. And I think, like, and some of it, like, that's the thing where, like, if you read the Bible, you read Christ's teachings, a lot of it's like very simple advice that, yeah, of course, help people, feed people. don't look down on poor people, right? Like things like that, like very like nice, just be good. Like a lot of, like the vast majority of it is just like, just be a good person, don't feed people if you can, help people if you can, don't hoard money, like it's very simple stuff. And like, it's not it shouldn't be radical. It's very like rational advice, and like a lot of self-help advice just comes to, I feel like, can just spin out of like, hey, just be good, don't be bad. But the idea of Christ, which is again, I think circles back around to the book about what are you worshiping? Are you worshiping the same Christ? Because everyone's version of Christ, if you ask them, would be very different. And I think if you like, it probably, you went to the Eastern world. I don't know this for sure, but I assume if you ask them, what is Buddha? Who was Buddha? Their ideas would also be incredibly disparate, and probably include a lot of quotations that he never said.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, because although I tend to speak very kindly of Buddhism, there are bad Buddhists out there who kill and do all the bad things. I've heard of like Buddhist warriors who, I don't want to get into details, but there are Buddhists who kill and like go to war and fight. And there's one Buddhist leader who said anyone who speaks ill of Buddhism, they, in their country, I forget where it is, that they would kill them. And it's like that. Well, that sounds just,
It's in that the very idea is intrinsically kind of anti-Buddhism.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just like Christianity is like, oh, I should go kill people. I'm like, well, are we presuming that you have, that just like if you adhere to Christ's teachings, that the New Testament is canonical, then you don't actually, you don't kill people. Like you're a pacifist. You're supposed to love people, and that's it. And I did a lot of scholarship, by the way. I just want to point that out. I did lots of so much Bible scholarship to write this book. So I read a lot of, I read sermons. Again, there's a lot of scripture in the book. And I read lots of scripture. I read different papers about the scripture and how different schools of Christianity and different sects and denominations all interpret different little chapters differently. So I did my work. So I'm like, oh yeah, which makes it even, it again is all like so much of it is interpretation.
Yeah.
And then like, how do you parse who you are and what God you worship when you have to spin it through, it's like purple monkey dishwasher. It's like, it changes the definition from day to day. It's difficult, very difficult.
That was one thing I really enjoyed about the book too, because I did have a question here, but I skipped it because we kind of went over a lot of it, and then you just said that you basically became like a scholar, biblical scholar. But I had a question about the research, because what I really loved was how a lot of the sermons that David talks or speaks to his congregation there. They obviously, I mean, because he's a conscious thinking being, and he's forming these sermons to what's going on in the story. But you were able to find like Bible quotes and everything that kind of follows along with what's going on, and it was brilliant, honestly.
Thank you. I mean, I wrote sermons. That's effectively what I did.
Yeah.
It's like I'm writing I'm about to write another book with a minister main character, so I'm gonna have to do it again. These are gonna be very different sermons because it's a period piece. It's gonna be more of a deranged minister.
Oh, interesting.
So it doesn't have to necessarily be actually coherent. Because I wanted his sermons to be good sermons, and like ultimately, my grandmother's brother, I don't know what, I guess that's my granduncle or whatever, I don't know, relative that makes. I never met the man. He passed before I was born, but he was a Quaker pastor.
Okay.
And I remember distinctly my grandmother, who was also an atheist, which is it was for people of her generation, very strange. And she studied his sermons, like, and she loved reading. She read, and she did, like, she read a voraciously, and it's partially why I am why I'm a writer. But she studied, and she was an atheist, but she studied her brother's sermons, Quaker sermons.
Interesting.
And I was always like, it's always stuck in my head. I'm like, and my grandmother respected him so much, even though she herself did not believe. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do justice to this pastor character, I have to write real sermons that use real scripture, and obviously would speak. I don't know. There's a couple people who had beta read for me. They're like, it feels so it feels weird that all the sermons are about what's happening. I'm like, have you been to a church service? That's what they do. If you're in a small church, they write sermons about what's happening around them. Not every sermon is like just this pre-programmed, oh, we're going to talk about constancy today. No, they're writing sermons to apply to the world that is facing the challenges that are facing their parishioners.
Exactly.
And so I'm like, well, and I am luckily living in an era where you could just search the Bible online and you could find Bible verses in scripture and passages about Gentile versus the non-Gentile Christians, of the problems who faced in the New Testament. Like, I consciously pulled only from the New Testament for the most part, except for Psalms. I wanted to include the Psalms because of David, but I consciously picked from peaceful and loving scripture for David, and very more antagonistic and warlike Old Testament scripture for Eli, and the very few bad sermons that you hear him give.
Yeah.
But it's their sermons effectively. I went to church service. I know what a sermon sounds like, and it ultimately he is, and pastors are effectively scholars too. Like, they have to. So I like characters like that in general, like any character, because it lets me write more intelligently. There's a lot of times where you write a character and they're like, would that character know that word?
Yeah.
No, they're not that smart. They're not that, they don't have that diction. But when you have a smart, well-spoken character, it really lets you no, they would know that, and they would do that research, and they would do the work. And I don't know, there's a lot of the other thing. I don't think I've ever said this in an interview yet, but there's a lot of Ned Flanders also.
Ned Flanders, yeah.
And there's a lot of Ned Flanders, and at least golden years Simpsons Ned Flanders.
Yeah.
Ned is like a good guy.
Yeah,
and he's not always pleasant, but he tries to be a good guy.
And your Simpsons because you have a Simpsons podcast, right?
I do. I finally am ending it. I've made the decision.
Oh, you are?
I am. After this season's over, we're done. I've reached the end of my limit for it. It's a lot of bad Simpsons. I've watched way more bad Simpsons than great Simpsons. And I also, we talked about my career earlier, and I was like, part of it is I have a finite amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to try and push it all at being an author.
I was talking about this with somebody else. I get these ideas all the time, and I'm like, oh, I got to do a podcast about this, or I got to write a book about this. Right. But it's like, no, we need to stick to just what we're doing right now, because I guess it's ADHD. I don't know, but I want to veer off and to do all these things.
It's executive function is important. You need to say, what's the most important thing I can be doing,
Exactly,
and certainly there's, when you're not working, you can chase your hobbies as much as you want, right? With your free time. But when it starts cutting into what are my big goals in life? And ultimately goals are, driven by what makes me happy or what will make me happy. You have to, focus in on that stuff. You're not alone. I think we all have that. Oh wow. I mean, I literally the new idea that I'm working on right now was supplanted another new idea that I had just a month ago, and I'm like, no, this new thing is. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to chase that instead. Yeah. But I think this is the thing that I'm going to be chasing for the rest of the year. I'm really excited about it. So.
That's always good when you can chase that thing.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So before we go, is there you said you're not going to release anything else this year, but do you have an idea of what you're going to release next if you're able or willing to talk about it?
Sure. Happily. I'm querying with it right now. I've said this, I think, multiple places, but gotten only rejections so far. It could take a long time. So I'm probably just going to give it the rest of the year and see, let agents eventually, like, some of them take so long that I'm not waiting a year for you to answer my email, man.
Yeah.
But like, I'll give them 3 months. Sure. I get it. You've got a million things, but I'm querying with it now. But if and when, if it gets picked up, great. Hallelujah. I got an agent. It'll go on sub, whatever. But if not, I will publish it myself, probably early next year at sometime, maybe March, April, sometime. And then with a pre-order campaign leading up to it, it's called the title of right now, I think it will be, the title is The Blush, which is a sapphic cosmic horror / body horror story, heavily inspired by the Radium Girls.
Interesting.
I'm
already on board, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really happy with it. I mean, it's done. It is ready. I mean, I'd probably do a little bit more tweaking, but very minor things. So it's good to go, whatever. I just would need to get, cover and design all that stuff. But it's a period piece set in the 1920s, factory worker protagonist. Their boss finds a eldritch substance buried deep in the earth that he is selling as a cure-all, and as far as you can tell, it is. It glows, it's pink, and they start calling it the Blush because it makes your cheeks glow.
Nice. And I'm sure it does something.
Oh, it's also heavily inspired by like other stories of like, obviously the Radium Girls are relatively well known. Like people, the girls who use radium to paint wash tiles, and they all died from cancer and radiation poisoning. But there was other stories of radioactive quackery where they used radium in like potions, and they sold like snake oil, basically serums, to people, and it killed them. Obviously, it killed them. Yeah. They all died. But there's like, again, that I was like, well, what if instead of that they turned into monsters? What if it affected a change in them? Like and there's some, and our main character also has this ability to shape the substance because she's experienced as a jeweler. Her mother taught her how to make jewelry, how to shape gems, and so she creates jewelry using this substance, and then in the process of that finds that she can commune with some sort of source, some greater thing, some big powerful thing. But it's, again, I love writing about capitalism. It's a lot about capitalism. It's about power, both power and capitalism. Now look for that next year. If you follow me, believe me, as soon as I know that I'm going to be publishing it,
it'll be out there.
I immediately will start shouting it from the heavens. Hey, go pre-order this, go buy this, etc., etc. Beyond that, not sure. That's going to be like, again, it's going to be this hybrid approach I've been going, where I think I'll query with something. If it doesn't get any interest from an agent, then I'll go publish it myself. So probably the thing I'll be querying next, or the couple of things I'll be querying next, will be potentially the things I'll be publishing myself in the latter half of next year. But I think next year I'll go back to, again, if nothing changes, 2 books in the year. And I think that's a good rhythm for me. In the early days, I did 3 books a year. I can't support that anymore. Once you get a big back catalog as a self-publisher, you have to spend a lot of time supporting the books you already have out. So I think two books a year is a lot for most people. And I think it's the right amount for me.
You also kind of slow down as you get older too, like naturally.
I try and avoid that because I try and ignore the fact that every year my body hurts a little bit more and takes a little bit longer to recover. From a show, I do a big convention, and then like, oh man, why is a whole day wasted of me just like hurting?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because I stood for 30 hours this weekend and talked the entire time and spent a lot of and hauled books around. Like, books are heavy.
They are.
You got 17. I anyone out there, I think you know this already, but I'm gonna let you know. Books are heavy, especially when you got a lot of them and they're all yours. You start questioning all your life decisions. You're like, they're not like, it's not a book from some other author that I love. They're my books. I have to go sell them, and I'm like hauling them around. I'm like, oh my god, these books are so heavy.
Yeah.
And why does my back hurt on Monday? Oh, yeah,
I know why.
Yeah, I know why. And then you're like, hey, self-care matters. Self-care is important. So it is. And checking in with myself, and like when we spent a lot of time talking about like mindfulness and Buddhist principles, and checking on your physical being, and if you're in pain and not taking it too, I love pushing myself. Believe me, if it's not clear by hearing me talk for an hour, God, I'm a maniac. So I have to, again, it's healthy to slow down and to go, oh, my back hurts. Let's take it easy today. You know, the physical work. I don't have to do that today. I can do clerical things. I can do,
just let it go for now.
Yeah. Exactly. Put a bow on things.
All right, well, I had a blast talking to you. When you release The Blush, I would love to have you on again and talk about that book. 'Cause that thing sounds like it's right up my alley, and it's a Robbie Dorman book. So
it's definitely a more fun book than Words of Christ and Red. It's closer in line to like the other most of my oeuvre. Most of my work.
Just your elevator pitch there had me going, gee, oh fuck yeah, I can't wait to read this one.
Yeah, it's good. I don't want to. I could talk about it a lot. I love it, but we'll wait.
I want to read it.
I'll let you know. For sure. Okay. You'll be in the loop.
All right, awesome. Now, before we go, we did talk about where people could find you, but if you want to reiterate where people can find you.
I mean, it's my name, Robbie Dorman. I have faith in you that you know the internet, dear listener, dear watcher. You can Google my name and it'll be on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'll be on Amazon under that name, on Barnes & Noble. Wherever you buy books, you can find my books there. Digitally, it's only on Amazon and Kindle or Kindle Unlimited. I have a new podcast, Blood on the Typewriter, for people who listen to this podcast. I think it'd be right up your alley. It's me interviewing other authors, doing a little bit of it's heavily inspired by Mike Birbiglia's podcast, where he interviews comedians. Very, very focused on craft, like a lot of nuts and bolts and greater philosophical questions directly tied to writing and to career, and how to get better, how to in many ways, and some of it's selfish on my part because I want to be better. So I'll ask Almakatsu, how can I be better? And honestly, she helps. She gave me really good answers.
Nice.
And hopefully, I'll interview every single author that exists. But
now there you go again, pushing yourself.
I know, but I mean, you probably know this too, but if you ever want every thirsty author on the planet to knock down your doors, hey, can I be on your podcast? Just say that. Just say, I'm going to start a podcast interviewing authors. Yeah. Immediately, everyone's your best friend. Everyone wants to be on your podcast. I'm like, I'll get you there. I'll get in time. Just give me some time. Yeah. I'll get everybody.
Well, I really enjoyed the podcast. That was the key of getting me on you again, or getting you on the show again, because I forget how it was I was introduced to your podcast, but I didn't know you were doing that until a little later on. And then I think you just posted, that was it. You posted like some clips from one of your and I sent you a message saying, how did you get that? Like those clips.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, what service do you use, or do you do it yourself? And you told me how you did it. And then, so I went and listened to your podcast. I'm like, this is great. Another thing of Robbie Dorman's that I enjoy.
Again, it's like, you hammer at a door, and if the door doesn't open, you go hammer at a window, and if that doesn't open, you go down to the cellar door, you go up, you like try and break through the attic window. Like, again, it's me trying to be like, I want to be everywhere. I want to be undeniable. So split myself in 50 pieces if I have to.
I kind of know how you feel because I feel the same way sometimes. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I can't wait to talk to you again. You're an awesome guest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Love being on the show.